Okay, fantastic. So I am really delighted to be introducing you to Vaishali this afternoon. Vaishali, can you say hi?
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great. So we are switching up our theme now. As I said, we are all in elevating our wedding venue now. So and improving, bettering, and doing, basically being all round, stronger, better venues. And I really think a key part of this is being more diverse and being more relevant, more culturally aware, and there are so many aspects to obviously elevating yourself and your venue and your business. And it just felt like a very good a good point to ask Vaishali, who is an expert in ultimately in businesses being more culturally aware, to ask her to come and do a session here for us this afternoon. So let me just introduce Vaishali before I hand over to her. She's going to present for a little while and then have time for questions, because I'm pretty sure you will all have some. So Vaishali is a serial entrepreneur. She's founder of Ananya Cards, which is a beautiful wedding stationery and design business, as well as Creative ID, which is corporate branding. Vaishali is a very stylish lady with a very multicultural client base, an incredibly well-traveled and diverse client base. Culturally Minded is a cultural consultancy more recently founded by Vaishali, helping businesses of all types, but specifically within the wedding sector, because that's a sector that Vaishali knows very, very well, overcome the challenges posed by cultural differences and sensitivities. So she's going to share with you today sort of a bit of an open session as to how culture friendly is your venue and things that you can do to improve and get better. So I will hand over to Vaishali and see you a bit later.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Kelly, for asking me to speak about this important and personal subject. So how culture friendly is your venue? And we're going to talk about essential aspects to consider. I'm going to be talking about venues through a cultural lens, but many of the points will also be true for other types of diversity. So that's gender diversity, sexual orientation, disability, and age diversity, for example. First, I'd like to ask yourself, how confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being most confident, that your venue is culture friendly and inclusive? You can type this in the chat box if you'd like to share it, or you can make a note of it for yourself. But I feel it'll be helpful for you to know where you're at today. And then you can then ask yourself the same question in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, so that you can see how you're doing and you can monitor your progress.
Yeah, if you want to put into the chat box, there we are, a few people have, thank you. We've got a 10, an 8, which is great. I'm loving it.
Excellent, I can go home.
You're done, Vaishali.
That's really good. Very happy to hear that.
Brilliant, I like that, 7, 8. I'm loving this high energy this afternoon. Everyone is like, yeah, we're on this.
Brilliant, very good, very good. So what we're going to cover this afternoon is just a little bit of background about myself. Kelly's already given a lovely introduction. Then about Culturally Minded, my business. 5 things for you to consider, for us to consider together. Then some stats and to talk about authenticity. And then just my details at the end. There's going to be time for questions as we go along. Please put them in the chat box, and there'll also be time for questions at the end, because I'm hoping that there'll be things that I say that may resonate with you, or you need a bit more clarity or clarification or examples. So there will definitely be time for Q&A. And I have notes because there's lots of things that I want to share. I don't want to miss anything. So if you kind of see me looking down, that's because I'm looking at my notes. And I want to be able to give you some things to consider and changes that you can put into action, which you can implement into your business and help move your venue forward. So a little bit about myself. As Kelly said, that I've traveled a lot. I'm a British Indian. My mother was born in India, my father in Kenya. So I've grown up with culture from a young age. I've traveled extensively, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. As Kelly also mentioned, I run two other businesses. So Anani Cards, which is the wedding and event stationery business, and I focus on cultural and multicultural weddings. So the wedding industry is something that I know and love and passionate about. I've been fortunate to be in it for the last almost 15 years. And I also run Creative ID, my design branding agency, which again helps me with this work because I can look at a venue's branding, their brochureware, all the material that they're putting out, and kind of look at it with through a cultural lens. And then I kind of use my marketing background. I used to work in my family business, running my own businesses, and kind of pick on the different experiences to help my business and to help my clients. So I set up Culturally Minded to help businesses be more culturally aware and inclusive and successfully overcome the challenges that there are with cultural differences. So as a wedding and event venue, you can put your best foot forward and you can speak to an all-inclusive audience, and you can attract different types of weddings. So for example, multicultural weddings, Asian weddings, Jewish weddings. And being culturally aware helps if you want your venue to be relevant and thoughtful in its approach, to ensure authenticity, and also to keep pace with competition. So whether you're a brand new single venue or whether you're well established and you've got a group of venues, whether you're based in London or whether you're based in the countryside, whether you have a small team or a large team, this is something important, I believe. So I kind of want to get that point across that it's not just for the large international multi-chain venues. According to me, diversity and inclusion and culture is for everyone. Not only is diversity in marketing valuable for venues to represent the modern society, but your customers are now expecting it. And it gives venues the edge to stand out against the competition, to increase your customers, improve your reputation, and helps you win business. So it makes commercial sense as well as being the right thing to do. And inclusivity, it's a process, it's a conscious decision, it takes concerted effort. It's not just a blackout on Instagram for one day and then continuing with life as normal. It's not a trend or a fad. And even after 30 minutes with me today, that's not just that you've ticked the box and we've done it. It's something much deeper than that. It needs to be, in my opinion, part of your mindset, at the heart of your business, and not just simply a box to be ticked off. But I'd also like to say, only do it if you feel that it's right for you and you believe in it, because that way it'll be authentic. Otherwise, it will appear tokenistic, which is not what we want. So these are 5 things that we can do and that I'd like to discuss together about how to make your venue more culturally friendly and inclusive. So firstly, number 1, listening and learning. So as I said, there is no quick fix. Being truly diverse, inclusive, representative is not something that happens overnight. In my opinion, we should listen to others and really hear what they're saying. Listen to other perspectives, listen to understand and learn about other experiences, and educate yourself. Education is key. And just like you take time to learn how to build an email list or how to use Pinterest or how to use Instagram and get those hashtags right, it's the same thing. We need to take time to educate ourselves on diversity and inclusion. And if you want to host different cultural weddings, for example, so let's say a multicultural wedding or an Asian or African wedding, you need to take the time to learn and educate yourself on how they work. Research and understand the different traditions and customs, the do's and don'ts, and the sensitivities of each culture, so that you can better attract and serve this audience or ideal client. For example, food. We can learn about the different types of food and cuisine at weddings. And food is one of the highlights of weddings, especially cultural weddings. So as a venue, need to be aware of dietary requirements. Certain Indian communities will only want vegetarian food at their wedding for religious reasons. So venues need to ensure that there are ample vegetarian options when they show a couple their wedding menu or during the food tasting. If meat is allowed, you should still also provide sufficient vegetarian options. For a traditional Muslim wedding, you would expect there to be no alcohol, so it's a non-alcohol celebration. So again, this could have an implication on your costs and when you're kind of working out how much to charge, that there won't be alcohol there. For Jewish weddings, a kosher menu would be required. And food is a good way for a couple to inject their personality and heritage into their wedding. Second thing to consider is review your language. You want to show your experience and comfort with working with other cultures through your wording. You could have text that demonstrates any experience you have of other cultures to show that you respect and appreciate their particular sensitivities and values. So this could be captions on your social media or in the About Us or Welcome section of your website, or if you've got a printed brochure or a digital version. So I'd say ask yourself, do you have examples of working with clients of other cultures? Have you had any Asian weddings, Jewish weddings, or multicultural weddings, for example? Have you worked with suppliers from different cultures? For example, any external caterers? Do you have team members from different cultures? If so, please show this experience. The point is to demonstrate your knowledge of different cultures so that couples feel that you understand them and can cater to them, so that they can then inquire for that show around. Does your communication to potential clients show inclusivity in terms of race, age, and sexual orientation? For example, same-sex weddings. Are you using the word bridal or bride and groom rather than couple? My third tip or action point is to follow 5 diverse social media accounts per week. This will help you to get to know other businesses, see how they are doing things so that you can learn from others. Follow and engage with them. So it could be an Italian dress designer, an Indian stylist, a Jewish event planner, a Caribbean caterer, for example. And this is something quick and easy to implement. And imagine after 6 months, how many new culturally diverse accounts you'll be following and engaging with. You can credit them and share their images on social media. It could be an inspiration post, something that inspires you. I often do that on my Ananya Cards stories. I'm often sharing inspiration and things that, that inspire me, or you can do a shout out to somebody in the industry that you admire. Could you ask an African caterer, for example, to guest blog for you, or any of your preferred suppliers? Maybe you could ask an Indian or Jewish wedding planner to write a guest blog for you on wedding trends for 2021. I know I've written quite a few guest blogs on wedding stationery trends for 2021. So it's a way of kind of making that collaboration, working with others and increasing your knowledge and increasing engagement. And we often struggle for content. So this could be a good way to get new content, as well as build and strengthen relationships with diverse industry professionals. And I found this to be a really good quick win with my clients. And I've had clients guest blogging with others after following this exercise. Number 4, be open to understanding new experiences. Have a look at the suppliers that you work with, your colleagues, the people that you work with. Brands and businesses are reflected by the people who work for them. Look at whether you have diverse voices at the table and ensure that they're being heard. It's important to understand your reach. Ask yourself, do you currently have, or would you like to have, clients from different cultures? I would suggest, if you're not already doing so, to keep a log of the inquiries and confirmed bookings from different cultures and possibly even different countries, so that you can monitor progress and the effectiveness of inclusive marketing so that you can review every 6 months or so, and then you can adapt your marketing if necessary. So that kind of monitor and review process is very important. Also, you can review if your ideal couple, if that profile needs updating. And by being open, you can find solutions and solve any potential problems. Again, I go back to food, catering. If you cannot cater for an Asian wedding in-house, then you can explore the opportunity of having external caterers who are experts in their field. And there are lots of fabulous external caterers. And for example, if you're not used to having an all-vegetarian wedding meal, I can tell you firsthand, there's lots of great vegetarian food options out there. So it's again, it's being open to trying out new things. You may have heard that a traditional Indian wedding has a fire which the couple walks around, and you may be concerned about that as a venue, like how would you manage that? But there are ways of accommodating this, and a lot of large international hotels have managed this. And really, in truth, the fire element is only needed for about 10 minutes, and it's a small fire, it's not a huge bonfire or anything. And the priest immediately extinguishes the flame kind of after the 10 minutes of when it's not needed. So a suggestion would be to temporarily switch off the fire alarm in one room for that short duration, or to work with the flame size restrictions. So there are workarounds, and it's about being open to finding solutions, in my opinion. And then number 5, look at your imagery on social media and your website. Couples want to see themselves in your communication, in your social media, your Facebook adverts, your brochures, and know that you relate to them and their needs. Have you reviewed your imagery? Is it inclusive? Do you show global representation in skin color, in features, in hairstyles, and the overall look? As well as English couples, do you feature African couples, Indian couples, multicultural couples? Or do you find that you have one particular look which you continually use? Choosing the right images is key to making you connect personally and at a deeper level with your ideal client or your couple. And successful businesses are those businesses which are eliminating stereotypes. And it doesn't just need to be images of people to show that kind of diversity. You could have images of an African batik print, or some beautiful embroidery, an Indian sari, or Moroccan tiles, or Japanese cherry blossom, henna hands, African safari images, different colors on a tablescape, different types of cuisine. It's have a think of what would appeal to your ideal clients, your dream couple, those that you're serving now, and those that you would like to work with. It takes the guesswork out for couples looking for a venue that is the right fit for their culture and its requirements. And it helps build the know, like, trust factor for your venue. So I'm going to just show you some examples. These are from styled shoots that I've been involved in. There's a few stock images, stock libraries, where they have images that you can download for free. So whether it's the ceremony, the couple, the henna hands that I talked about, for a Jewish wedding, sitting underneath the huppah. And then if you don't have the necessary images, and if the timing is right and the objectives are clear, you may think about organizing a style shoot with diverse suppliers. I know Kelly's written a great blog about that, and when is the right time to kind of consider a style shoot. It's not for everybody, but if you do find that it is an option for you, then look at having diverse suppliers. It's not just the model, but a diverse, it's not just the model, but have a diverse team. So it could be your stationer, the stylist, the cake maker, the florist, the photographer. And then you've got these photographs that you can use across all your communications that will then resonate with couples from a different culture. And then build up this relationship with other suppliers that you've used for the shoot, kind of keep nurturing and engaging with those suppliers. And again, that's the way to build up your your diverse list. So make a conscious effort to be inclusive in your visuals, have diverse images. We're all working in a wedding industry. It's full of love and happiness. So it's the perfect opportunity for you to show that through the use of your images. Like I showed, you could have henna hands. That would be of interest to, Asian, Middle Eastern couples, certain multicultural couples. The mandap, the four-pillar temporary structure where Indian weddings take place. So there's lots of ways to include imagery. And if you use these images kind of on your social media, on your website, on your brochureware, it'll convey to couples that you are familiar with, you're at ease, and you cater to their culture. And I don't want you just to think, well, Vaishali's saying it. I want to also show you some stats to show about the importance of being inclusive. So Shutterstock, if you've heard of Shutterstock, it's a very well-known photo library, and they're really kind of pushing the diversity debate and really trying to be more inclusive. So they undertook a really comprehensive survey, and they found that 86% of consumers believe authenticity is an important factor when deciding which brands they'd like and want to support. And 3/4 of millennials prefer photos of real customers over professional photos created by a brand. Now, in the wedding industry, a lot of our couples are millennials. So it just shows that kind of authenticity is really important, being genuine, being purposeful, and not always just the perfect model, but actually using real people and real emotions. Okay, 90% of consumers say authentic content helps businesses break through the online clutter. And 70% of millennials are more likely to choose one brand over another if that brand demonstrates inclusion. So like I said at the beginning, customers are now expecting brands to be diverse. They're looking for brands to be like that. 88% of marketers believe using more diverse images can boost a brand's reputation. And 44% of consumers say it's important for a brand to align with their personal values. Their personal values could be the environment, could be being eco-friendly, being sustainable, being ethical. But it's a large percentage of consumers that feel that's important, and that's how they're judging brands. That's how they're deciding which brands and which businesses to support and purchase from. So I hope you feel that you can action some of these points quite quickly. And as I said, monitoring and reviewing the progress is important. So where you are today, where you are then in 3 months, 6 months, that's important. And the more you can understand, the more you can think ahead and anticipate the requirements of each culture that you're aiming to attract, the more you can genuinely better serve them. And then what we want is for your venue to be the sought after go-to place for weddings of all types, if that's what's appropriate for you.
Can I jump in with a question, Vaishali?
Please.
I think it might be something that others might want to ask. One of the things I encounter, particularly let's say with Indian weddings, Jewish weddings, the main thing that crops up is we'd love to, but our venue isn't big enough because there's an assumption of a large guest size. I mean, and I know from working with you one-to-one, there are a few perhaps wrong assumptions that, an Indian wedding is always 500 people. So could you tackle that one for us? Because I think that might be something that some people are struggling with, as we'd love to, but.
No, definitely. So yes, traditionally, Indian weddings are known for their large numbers, but I have seen, certainly from my stationery business size, weddings are not just the 500 person wedding, but they could be 100, 150, 200 people for the wedding. So it's certainly not that 500, because couples want it to be more intimate, and have that kind of more one-on-one time with their guests rather than just inviting everybody from the community. So the numbers have come down, but still, even if 100 or 150 and 200 is not possible, our weddings last a week. So we have different functions, and the wedding day and the wedding reception are the last function kind of at the end of the week. So we have a henna party. Now a henna party can be 30 to 60 people. We have a music party, which can be, 50 to 75, 100 people. So even if your venue is not suitable for the wedding and reception, there are still other ceremonies, or rather other celebrations that you can use your venue for, to be able to embrace and have other cultured weddings. So I do appreciate that the numbers are bigger, but think about the henna party. Think of, and those are not normally done at home because no one's home. People don't want, traditionally it used to be done at home, but now it's done in venues. So see if, can your space accommodate 30 people for a henna party, or 60 people, so that you can still take that. And then again, as you've introduced your venue to that couple, we all love celebrations. So it could be their first anniversary, they come back. They could be having a milestone birthday. If your venue is not just for weddings, but you have beautiful grounds, beautiful rooms that you can use for other things, you can use that. And also, as an Indian, I can tell you, we talk. So we've had a great experience. We will talk and we will share. So don't let the large numbers rule it out, is what I'd say.
Thank you, Vaishali. I think that's something, it's sort of, sometimes there's an assumption that, everything is large, but as you've rightly said, there are so many other smaller celebrations that fit certainly within an Indian wedding celebration that is totally doable for most venues. And the fact, just to use Emma here from Treseren, who is probably one of the smallest venues here on the session today in terms of your size and in capacity, you've hosted a micro Indian Anglo wedding this year for 14 guests. That's lovely. I mean, obviously some of that might be because of the year that we're in terms of capacity, but maybe not at all. So so that's great. That's fantastic.
That's great. So perfect. So exactly. So from that number up to 100, you can have various
Thank you.
various celebrations.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think we're kind of at the end. So I just wanted to kind of say thank you very much, and ready, I'd love to answer any questions. I am offering 10% discount on any power hours with me, and Kelly has my details so she can share them. These are my websites. Please feel free to connect with me, see what I'm doing, seeing who I'm posting and tagging. Please feel free to do that, and I'd love to answer your questions. I'm going to stop sharing, if that's okay, so I can actually see you all.
Perfect. Thank you, Vaishali. That's great. Thank you very much. Really great to hear from you. And so, just to make us all think, I think it's something that, as you rightly said, you don't just sort of decide one day that you're going to work on, your cultural diversity. It's a constant, it's a mindset, and it's a way of being. And it's something I'm working on in my business and want to continue working on. That it's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think there's a last question, if I can put that to you before we finish up. If there are any other questions for Vaishali, please put them in the chat box or raise your hand, and we will certainly come to them before we'll break in a short minute. But there's a question from Vic Lewis at BMA House, who says, we work exclusively with caterers CH&Co, who are based at the venue, and we only allow external catering if it's full kosher. We have lots of inquiries for Muslim, African and Indian weddings who request bringing their own caterers, which they don't allow. So we do say that our chefs are really flexible and can work with them. Do you have any tips on what else we can do to help convert those bookings and make them feel that we can deliver what they want?
Great question. So if you can only do it in-house, I would say practice in the sense of come up with some ideas, maybe, then show those images on social media. When the world gets back to normal, maybe you can have an open day and actually have all these different foods available for people to taste and to sample. So definitely, because there are venues that I've worked with that again is only in-house catering, but it's about being creative, and especially in the kind of multicultural space, you can have, let's say, an Indian samosa, but you can fill it with spinach and ricotta. So it's kind of fusing. You can have chai teeny cocktails. You can have mango bellini. It's about being creative. It's about being experimenting. If you want any suggestions, I have lots of suggestions, but I would say it's kind of trying that and then showing that you can do it, so that the Indian customer sees on your social media, on your websites, that you have catered or you are able to cater for Asian weddings, for African weddings. Show us pictures of the food, show us, the ingredients that you've been using. Just kind of tell that story that you are flexible, you have the knowledge, you have the understanding of what's important, and ask them to kind of come for the show around for the tasting so that they can see it. So it's definitely doable.
I think it might be one of those challenges where if you haven't done that catering before, you haven't got the imagery of it, and therefore, it's a slight chicken and egg. But I think that might be a reason to do a photo shoot that focuses in on that. If that's a market to develop, to get some gorgeous food photographed and shot and done, so that you can actually use that on all of your marketing and put that out there to reassure those couples that your in-house caterer can do it and they don't need to look to an external caterer.
Exactly. And I also have kind of chef clients, again, that would, I'm sure, for 1 or 2 hours or half a day that are kind of like independent, that could come to your kitchens and actually talk you through things, and you can kind of create something together. So you're not tied to them, but they've kind of given a little bit of consultancy of flavors or combinations. You can ask them questions, but then they are your dishes that you can then promote.
Thank you. Thanks, Vaishali. And thank you, Georgina, for your comment there, who says that she used to work for CH&Co based venues for a few years and found sending sample cultural menus and hosting menu tastings worked best.
Excellent.
But there we are. Vic, Georgina, you can have a conversation. There we are. So thank you, Vaishali. That's brilliant. I think we're running slightly over time now, so we best not take up any more of your time. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And join us for a cocktail at the end of the day if your time allows.
Sure, will do.
We will see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Right.